everybody. Welcome in. Hello, hello. Welcome to Crystal Masters, everybody. No, I'm not eating Snickers and watching you, but I am watching you. Sometimes when I'm waiting for you guys, like I get such a kick out of reading all your comments. It just cracks me up. How are you guys? Welcome. Oh my goodness, Crystal Masters. Yay! Welcome to, if you're in Soul Shift, this is session 2, because you have a 4-week program. If you're in Crystal Masters, this is your November class, and I'm so excited. We have big, exciting work to do tonight, and it's all centering around this symbol, which has been important to me for a long time. I know it's important to you too. We're finally working with Metatron. You are crazy, but I'm crazy too, so I will not be the one to judge you. How exciting! Daisy said it's her first live class. She usually watches it afterward. So welcome to your first live class. Is anybody else new? We have new members in Crystal Masters this month, so it could be some people's first class. What a first class, I will tell you. Hola, Rena. It's great to see you. So welcome in, and if you're new, you are so welcome to be here, and I hope you enjoy your first class. Like I said, what an incredible first class you've chosen. All of the tools for today have shipped. That doesn't mean USPS has brought them to your door, but they are on their way to you. And this is the tool for this month. I am wearing the tool for next month. I will tell you right now, so I have a couple of fun things to tell you before we get started. I don't know how we got a mala made for you, custom made, for $20, but we did. So if you haven't subscribed to your tools before and you don't have a 108 bead mala, I don't know a lot of places in the world where you can get a gemstone mala 108 bead for $20. So you have until, I think Alexis will tell you, till the 14th or something to subscribe to your tools. And next month I get to teach you all about mantras. We're going to learn all of the seed mantras for all of your chakras. We're going to really dig in. We're going to learn some Sanskrit together next month as we activate the energy of the mala. Isn't it pretty? I know. So this is your tool for next month. You still have time to sign up. We're only having as many made as people who sign up. But so if you sign up, you'll get one. Isn't that cool? For some of you, what's really exciting for us is this is your first mala. It's like, I feel like we're introducing you to a whole new world. Isn't that cool? You have till the 14th. Okay, cool. This is the tool for tonight. Little do you know where this tool is going to take you. I do want to tell you, for tonight's work, in a perfect world, you will have a single terminated wand. And if you've been in class this year, you should know what that is. If you haven't, though, I don't want you to feel left out. So a single terminated wand looks like this. It has a rounded end where you gather or collect energy, and then it has a terminated end where you direct the energy, either to yourself or to someone else or to the earth, or it's a channeling tool. We are going to be using this and a single terminated wand today for the work that we're doing. So if you have one in your collection, now would be the time to go and gather one of your tools from your collection. Some of you don't have single terminated wands in your collection, so what Alexis and I did, and this is really kudos to her, we went on sagegoddess.com. We found all of our single terminated wands that we have in stock. And by the way, if you're in Soul Shift and you got this tool, this is the ultimate tool for tonight. So if you're in Soul Shift and you have the single terminated wand that we got you, that would be great to have. Your obsidian wand from our August work together, perfect tool, okay? We have, at sagegoddess.com, we have 6 single terminated wands in our inventory. That's it for right now. So what we did is if you don't have one, we put these in your class tools section on the website, and then we made a code, Crystal22, to give you 22% off that section, but only until midnight tomorrow night. So your class tools section has 6 single terminated wands. If you're new and you're just learning tonight and afterward you're like, I would like to get a single terminated wand, or maybe you want to expand or extend your collection, Crystal 22, it only works on that section, but it is 22% off. So it's a bigger discount than what everybody else gets today. Please don't share that code with anyone else. I really don't want anybody outside of classes to have that. You can use, you need to use something that has, it shouldn't be just a point for tonight's work. It needs to have a rounded end. Now that can be, well, there's a lot of universe of possibility here. That can be a rounded end carved like that. That can be a crystal sphere like that, or like that. If you have your goddess of earth, air, fire, water, if you did that whole collection, those are all single terminated, so those are perfect. Okay, aren't they fun? So after tonight, if you don't have one, you have a great shopping opportunity, but again, that code is only for the class tool section. Don't tell anybody, because other people will come and buy those, and then there'll be nothing left. So 22% is a big deal to our community, so you gotta be really zip it. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm so glad you're here. Which elemental goddess wand would I suggest for tonight's work? It's really hard to say, because Metatron's energy, and that's what we're tapping into tonight, is all 4 elements. Metatron doesn't just play in the earth element or the water element or the air element, so he's, you know, that essence, that spirit. I don't even like to call Metatron he. Doesn't that feel weird? I don't feel like Metatron would identify as he. I think Metatron identifies as they, you know, or I don't know. Do you ever feel that way? Like when you're referring to one of these big archangel energies and you say, oh, you know, Archangel Michael, like he, I always stop with that, and I'm like, that energy is too big to be bound to a gender. It feels like a very human thing to try to do, doesn't it? So, yeah, so see what you're called to. Kathleen's feeling like earth, Tiffany's feeling like water. I think your intuition will guide you really accurately tonight. At the end of the day, whatever you feel called to is probably the right thing. Yeah. You can use, yeah, as long as it has a rounded end on one side and a terminated point on the other side, it's a perfect tool. Yeah. Alexis always takes notes for class. So you guys, and if you're new, this is a good reminder too. So thank you for asking, Tiffany Parks. We always take notes for you. So, because what I want you to do is come here, enjoy your time, learn, and not feel like, oh, but I didn't get what she said. Because I was a classroom teacher for a long time before Sage Goddess, and I'm a learning expert. And people learn better when they don't feel pressured to keep up or to record everything. It's called embodied learning. And so we try to create an embodied learning experience for you here by taking that pressure off and doing the notes for you. Okay, that's right. So welcome in. I feel like I should ring my bell. Session 2 of November has begun. Can you believe it? Can you believe we're 2 weeks away from Thanksgiving? The time it is going by. So we've spent time learning about the Platonic solids before this. And so what tonight is the Metatron's cube. And the Metatron's cube, you can see a 2D dimensional representation of it here, or a 3D dimensional representation of it here. It is every sacred geometric shape combined into one. So it's all elements, all directions, all energies, all archangels, all dimensions, and I'm going to walk you through all of that tonight. An extractor will work beautifully for this, guys. If you have any of the extractor needles, which by the way are all 22% off tonight too. So if you've never gotten an extractor, those are also in your classroom section, and that 22% code, Crystal 22, will work there too. So if you're like, what's an extractor? You can go and get a good deal on an extractor after this too. Perfect. You guys have exactly what you need, so you're in good shape. Okay, move some of this out of the way. So for the first part of our time together, and I'm going to be using this wand. Some of you know the story about this wand. And I'll tell you the story too, because it's a good story, and if you didn't hear it before, it is something that I would like to share with you as kind of the tightest crystal community at Sage Goddess, so it is something fun that I do want to share with you. The first part of our class tonight is going to really be about learning and focusing on wisdom, giving you some insight into Metatron, into the multiple dimensions of reality. I'm going to stick my toe into some physics with you tonight. We're not going to go too deep into it. This isn't a university physics class. But having said that, there's a little bit of physics involved in what we're talking about. And then the exercise I'm going to teach you, and we're going to be up and moving tonight. So a lot of you like that when I take it off of just this kind of dialogue and really get up and move. We are going to be standing. If you can't stand for any reason, if you need to stay seated, you can totally do this seated. So I will show you, for me to move the energy the way I was shown to do this, for me, I need it to be up and standing. But if you can't be up and standing, don't worry, you are not at all left out. You can be fully seated. I would even suggest you could be laying down if you wanted to. And I would be very curious, I'd be very curious to know how you do it tonight and then how it works for you. I would almost want you to try it seated, laying down, and standing up if you can, and see if the energy is more powerful one way or the other. Okay, so we are going to be up and moving around. Yeah, this necklace, by the way, is a Sylvia. This is not a Sage Goddess necklace. This is Sylvia Peluso. She's on Etsy under Sylvia's Creations, and she's been my friend for a long time, and also my, one of my favorite jewelry designers. Momo is up there. Nicole Novell is up there. But Sylvia is one of my favorite jewelry designers, and she makes these. So get them from her. And every piece is hand cut, hand soldered. She is a silversmith, and she's really gifted, and she's super aware and a practitioner. So when she makes magic, it's super special. Yeah, getting out your yoga mat's a great idea, by the way, just to give yourself a little more cushion. I have got really deep padding in my carpet in my crystal room, so I do yoga in here. I don't have to use a yoga mat, but if you need a little padding, get yourself a pillow or a yoga mat. Yeah, Sylvia's really amazing. She has a necklace up right now. It's a little out of my price range, but it's so pretty. Sometimes I just go and look at her things and just drool a little bit and kind of move on with my day. But she has this multi-directional triple tourmaline situation in her shop right now that's kind of mind-blowing. So yeah, so the 22% will only work on classroom tools. The Amazonite extractors are a new item today, so it's not in your classroom tools section, but it will work on the extractor needles, and it will work on the single terminated wands. You don't want to use an extractor diamond for tonight's work. That's why I'm really focusing on the single terminated. The extractor diamonds are double terminated. So, and this is more of a single terminated exercise. Yeah. So yeah, so Alexis can pop the link in for Sylvia, so you guys can check her out if you would like. She's a good human, and I love sharing the art and the magic of other good humans in the world. Okay. Like exhaling because I have so much to go through with you tonight. You know, when I have 3 solid pages of notes, that we have some work to do. And I never leave class without finishing my notes. So I always make sure I wring my notebook out completely before we're done with each other for the night. Okay, so tonight is an activation. Tonight's an activation. So the first part of our time together is going to be classroom, me talking to you, teaching you some concepts. And then the second half of our class tonight is going to be a physical activation of the energy. For me today, doing this in preparation for you was the first time I really did it as if I was doing it now. It was more powerful, truly, than flipping the Taurus for me. So I don't want to like inflate expectations, but tonight can have a really powerful effect. I chose, and you can choose, to focus the activation on a particular part of your body. And this one is really good for pain. If you don't have any pain, God bless you, and may you always stay that way. But a lot of us live with chronic pain, and so, and my pain tends to migrate because it's nerve pain. So I focused on a place today, a pocket, where I had quite a bit of nerve pain over the last couple of days, and I'm telling you, the release the release. I even was having like a little bit of like just difficulty like moving my shoulder, and I mean I was joking around with Zoe today and like doing my old belly dance routine, and it's like I haven't had mobility like that in a couple of weeks. So if you have pain, maybe use that area of your body as a way that you could incorporate this. Yeah, and if you're not feeling well, here's my rule, Lauren Conway, and you guys can tell me what you think. I always think you should come to class, even if you don't feel well. I don't think I've ever actually canceled an event. I've even done the full moon and everything when I had a cold or a flu, and by the end of it, everything's clear and I feel good because the energy is very healing. So there are some people who say you shouldn't come to class, or you shouldn't do ritual, or you shouldn't do ceremony if you're not feeling well. I'm kind of not of that camp. What I find is that the work that we do is very healing, and why not let it be healing to you? It's not like you can only be a good healer if you're healed or well. You know what I mean? Like, so maybe try staying and see how it goes for you. But I have had a lot of experiences where I wasn't feeling well at the beginning of a class, and by the end of the class, I'm leading the parade, right? Just a little bit, right? That's right. Annette said sometimes it helps just a little bit, but sometimes a little bit is all you need. You know what I mean? So. Yeah, Catherine has chronic headaches. So see how you go tonight. I think you'll experience a shift in your energy. That's my intention. Okay. Tonight's exercise in particular, I want you to think about as a tool in your toolkit. My goal with Crystal Masters this year, and by the way, Crystal Masters is continuing into 2021, and the price will be staying the same for the class. We are raising the price of tools by $10 because I really can't get things carved for $20, not the way I want to. So we're raising your fees starting in January for tools to $30, but your class is going to stay $30 all the way through 2021 because of the pandemic. We didn't want to raise costs for anybody and make that a barrier. So my intention for this year, which is the same as my intention for next year, I try to teach crystal healing a little bit differently. I try to bring you more of the esoteric and magical wisdom and traditions behind it, like the sacred geometry and like activation exercises. And my hope is that I give you some tools, like this one tonight, that you could then take and work with your clients, that you could share with other practitioners that you support. And so tonight I hope becomes wisdom to put in your back pocket, but also an exercise, an activation that you can share with other people and transform their health too. So it's not just about the crystals and Crystal Masters. I try to look at crystals in context. So, you know, this tool on its own is beautiful. And you certainly could spend lots of hours just gazing at it. You could hold it and meditate with it, but there's a lot more going on here. And I think unless you know kind of the backstory and also how to activate it, how to bring its energy into your field, then the class kind of is empty. You know what I mean? It's not really going to make the difference for people. What I'm going to show you tonight makes a difference for me. And so I hope that it will make the difference for you and that you'll feel inspired and trained enough to be able to bring this to other people too. Pretty exciting, right? Okay. So, by the way, one other little tidbit to share with you. Do you know what 1111 is called by some people? And we really, when we were designing Crystal Masters for the year, we had some of these things in mind, but not to the level of synchronicity that they actually unfolded. 1111, which was yesterday, is called the Gate of Metatron. Did you know that? Because it's considered the most synchronistic, magical date of the year, right? 1111 is the number of divine manifestation and synchronicity. And so it's called the Gate of Metatron. And I think it's so cool. That gate doesn't close until 11:11 p.m. your time. So if you're on the west coast of the US or the east coast, you are still in the Gate of Metatron tonight while we activate the Metatron's cube and leave this dimension for the healing work that we're going to do. Isn't that cool? Yeah, it's Metatron's gate. So we are in the gateway and we are working with Metatron's energy. Okay. So let's begin by talking about why Metatron, first of all, is so important. I consider myself Atlantean. That's when I believe I came onto this planet, which would have pinned me right about somewhere between 10 and 13,000 years ago, right? And a lot of us have spent a lot of years trying to figure out when we first arrived on the scene. You know, a lot of us came during the Pleiadian civilization. Some of us came afterward. I call us the cleanup crew for the Pleiadian civilization. And look, the Atlantean experiment didn't work either, right? We were both sort of failed experiments. We had different intentions. The Lemurian experiment was designed to see if we, the Cosmic Alliance, could create a class of beings to inhabit this planet who would vibrate at the purest frequency of unconditional love and be able to sustain that as a civilization. And what we learned is that's really hard. And it lasted for a while until it didn't, right? And everything I've read, especially from some of the great, writers on the subject, like Lucy Cavendish, it was a successful experiment, and then it was an unsuccessful experiment. Part of it is you had leadership in Lemuria, right? And if you don't have your tool, by the way, for tonight, stay, please, because I hope you're still going to get so much out of tonight's class, unless you want to watch the recording later. But since you're here live, you can still watch and participate, and I think you'll enjoy it. If you have a double terminated wand, you could still do all of tonight's work. So that's a second tool to think about if you have in your collection. So there was leadership in Lemuria, right? There were priests and priestesses. And anytime you have leadership in a society, you will have conflict. Yeah, Jill Lathers, your tool is in the mail. Everybody's tools were mailed today. I know we've mentioned that, but just in case anybody's coming in and does not know that, all of your tools have been mailed, so they are on their way to you. So anytime you have priests and priestesses, you're going to have tiers of a culture or a society. And anytime you have tiers of a society, tiers like Tiers, you're going to have conflict. And I think ultimately that's part of what happened in the Lemurian experiment. So after the rise and fall of Lemuria, we had the rise of Atlantis. And Atlantis, the purpose of the Atlantean civilization was to build technology and to harness technology from other dimensions to support us here. And from my perspective, again, just sort of based on everything that I've been taught and that I know, once Lemuria rose and fell, it became clear to the beings in the outer parts of our galaxy that we needed support. And so they started to channel through to us these cosmic frequencies. Lemuria had them, but Atlantis figured out how to harness them and how to build with them, how to create structures and technology. Atlantis was here to form language as a basis of communication. There was no language before Atlantis, not in the way that we think of language today. So the idea of a scribe, for example, the creation of written language, was an Atlantean endeavor. And in fact, the founder of language as we know it on Earth, as we think about the Atlantean civilization, was Thoth. And if you join Soul Shift for 2021, or if you're in Soul Shift and you're staying through 2021, Thoth is going to become a familiar name to you. Thoth is one part of the tripartite energy that we think of as Hermes Trismegistus. Hermes, in the Greek tradition, is the messenger, the communicator, right? And he has different faces in different traditions. So we study Hermes, but we also study his other faces and other iterations. So Hermes, Mercury, and Thoth. Do I have you with me still? I know I'm going through a lot of kind of complex information. If you need me to slow down at all, let me know. Or if you need me, I love to explain things different ways. So do not hesitate. If at some point you're like, I'm not following, or I can't keep up, just let me know and I'll describe it to you a different way. Okay. So, yeah, and we have quizzes and we've done all kinds of things to help you understand your star origins. We're going to circle back to a little bit of that in 2021, so not to worry if you haven't had that experience yet. We'll come back and pick you up there. So, Thoth is the being on this planet who gets the credit for creating language. He's the father of hieroglyphics. And hieroglyphics, at least in magical traditions, are thought to be the first form of written communication on the planet. And so Thoth was the father of that. Now, before Thoth, it is Metatron. Metatron is considered the scribe of God. And Thoth is considered the scribe of Earth. So I even think of Metatron as being the one who inspired, or, the word inspire means to breathe life into. In means inside, and spiros is breath. So I think of Metatron as being the one who inspired Thoth to create writing, because Metatron is the scribe of God. It's interesting, isn't it? Yeah, the best book on Lemuria, in my opinion, is by Lucy Cavendish, and you can find it. It's spelled just like it sounds, and you can find it on Amazon. I think it's called Lost World or Lost Worlds. It's a fantastic book. She's an amazing writer. And you can get a used copy of that and scoop that right up. And it's a one read. It's a one sit read. So enjoy that if you find your way down that path. Okay, so we have the origin of language. We have the origin of communication. Metatron, then, is that scribe of God. But Metatron is much more than just a scribe of God. Metatron is one of the 13 archangels, considered by most people to be the most powerful of the archangels, holding the energy and wisdom of the universe. And that's why we call Metatron's cube, this beautiful thing, and the tool that you have for tonight, that's why we call this the father of all sacred geometry. And that's why it's named after Metatron, because this one shape contains the triangle, the square, the cube, the sphere, the Merkaba. Any of those symbols are in here, but this is all of them and not just the one. Does that make sense? Merkaba is the second most powerful, in my opinion, of the sacred geometric shapes. In my opinion. I don't know what you guys think, but to me, Metatron's cube is number 1 and Merkaba is number 2. Merkaba sits inside the Metatron's cube. Okay, now, one of the most important facets of the Metatron's cube is actually housed in the Merkaba. So that's why I wanted to show this to you. This is a 3D Metatron's cube. This is your tool for this month. I wonder if I should put it down here so I can use the other camera to show you. Yeah, that's better. This is your tool for this month. This is a 3D representation of the Metatron's cube that I'm wearing. And then this is the Merkaba. And so you can see the two together. I think of the Merkaba as almost as complex and powerful as the Metatron's cube, but it has fewer terminations, and it doesn't hold all of the shapes the way the Metatron's cube does, right? Yeah, so if you don't have your tool yet, try doing it with the Merkaba and see how you do, see how you go. You may have a very powerful experience using your Merkaba. There is a hierarchy in sacred geometry, but it's not a judgment. Do you know what I mean? It's not like, oh, this is better than this. It's just different, right? This includes this, but just because something includes something doesn't necessarily mean it's more powerful for you, right? So try, Trina and others of you who haven't gotten your tool yet, I actually would love for you to try doing tonight's work with your Merkaba, and then do it when your tool arrives. Do it a second time, because the exercise won't take you that long. And then report back. You know what I mean? I would love to know, actually, if you have a similar experience, very different experience. One relieves the pain, the other one doesn't. And maybe it's flippy floppy. It might not be the same as it worked for me. So, yeah. And the Metatron's cube and the Merkaba, like I said, are both extremely important. And certainly more complex than the tetrahedron, than the hexahedron, than the sphere. They certainly are more complex and inclusive than that. Okay. Now, within these shapes, this is what was shown to me. So part of what I'm teaching you tonight is kind of traditional teaching on Metatron's cube and Merkaba. The other part of tonight is just me. Some of the things I'm teaching you tonight are things that I saw in ayahuasca last year or have channeled through my spirit guides. And so there are certain parts of this class where you're not going to find it in a book because it really has come through me. But hopefully that's a fun part of this experience for you too. Otherwise you could read a book and kind of get what you need. So hopefully the little extra information is helpful to you. Okay. Within these shapes is what most people call the Star of David, right? But the star, I don't call it the Star of David because the Star of David, that's a modern use for an old symbol. So you can call it the Star of David, but it's as long as you know that it's way much more than that, right? Within these shapes are 2 star tetrahedrons, 2 3-dimensional triangles, right? The first points skyward. And this is something really that is only shared by Merkaba and Metatron's cube. This is why out of all of the other, I actually have my Numite Sacred Geometry, my personal set, sitting right here because I work with it all the time. And this is why none of the other shapes in the Platonic solids can quite do what these other 2 can do, because only the Metatron's cube and the Merkaba have this 2-plane system, this as above, so below, okay? So that's why I'm saying I think you might be able to do this interchangeably, but let's see how you go. The triangle pointing up, I want to talk about first. Let me just want to make sure I'm tracking my notes. Okay. Yes, the triangle pointing up points toward heaven and channels energy from sky to earth. So it pulls energy down from above. And you can see that in the form, right? Top of the triangles, down and back. So this triangle, if you stop looking at the sides, I'm glad I wore this because it makes it a little bit easier to show you in 2D versus 3D. If you don't look at the sides and you just look top down to the sides and across, this is the pyramid that allows you to pull energy down from heaven and direct it to earth. So that's using cosmic energy to heal your body. The other triangle goes across, right? So don't look up here. Its point is down here and it comes up and across. This triangle is pulling energy from the Earth's own crystalline matrix, its own frequency and energy field, up into your body as well. So it's energy from above and energy from below. Does that make sense? Okay, so that is the power, the hidden power that these 2 shapes share. And it, like I said, it's only shared between the Metatron's cube and the Merkaba. Okay, the union of those 2 is one way that the symbol of the Metatron's cube represents duality. The other way, and again, this is good that I have the necklace so you can see, the other way that this symbol represents duality, that a lot of people are not aware of, but it's so important. The Metatron's cube is a system of 13 circles, and I'll explain more about why, or at least why I think that is, in just a second. It's a symbol of 13 circles that are connected by lines. I meant to bring my computer up to show you that in a drawing, but you can look it up. If you Google Metatron's cube 13 circles, it will show you the like a basic drawing of the inside of this, okay? The circles represent the feminine energy of the Metatron's cube. The lines represent the linear masculine energy of the Metatron's cube. So it's a union of dualities in 2 ways. The inverse of the star tetrahedron, as above, so below, and the 13 circles, which are all the essence of femininity, feminine energy, connected by lines that are masculine. I know, and tomorrow's the 13th. It's like all the layers of significance to what we're doing and when we're doing it keep unfolding. Isn't that interesting? That's right. So you guys are 3 flippin' steps ahead of me, and that's why I love you. You're so smart. It is so fun to teach you guys because of how smart you are and how experienced you are. Because it's nice, you know, when people are like keeping up and kind of toe to toe. 13 moons, 13 archangels, right? And the 13 circles, that's right. Those are all the connections. Now, there are also 12 dimensions of reality, and I believe it's a +1. I believe there's 12 dimensions of reality and you. I think you are the 13 in the cosmos. If you look at drawings and depictions, when people talk about the 12 dimensions, right, which are your 9 chakras from Earth Star to Soul Star, then you have one more chakra below that Earth Star called the Earth Gateway, and then you have 3 chakras above, 3-dimensional portals above your Soul Star, which take you to the cosmic and the universal gateways. Those 12 are always drawn inside the human form. So my opinion is that there are 13 dimensions of reality, and they are the 12 dimensions of reality through your experience. So you are the 13, if that makes sense, right? Yeah. So the number 13 is incredibly lucky. It is incredibly lucky. And what I have found throughout time is that when our ancestors stumbled upon something that seemed to have real magic, real heft to it, if it scared them, they made it a bad thing. So then 13 became an unlucky number, right? And a really scary day, and ooh, Friday the 13th, and all these things. When, at least in my experience, 13 is one of the luckiest numbers. It is a number of power and activation and manifestation, right? And that's right, you add up 1 plus 3, you get 4, and 4 is the hexahedron. 4 is the cube, right? 4 is solid foundation, firm new beginnings, and the balancing of the 4 elements and directions, right? Okay, so one of the things I want to invite you to do tonight, and this has been through my own experimenting with the technique I'm going to teach you. So I'm going to tell you about this now so you can start the process. The more relaxed you are when you do what I'm going to teach you tonight, the more profound it is. If I was doing this with a client, so I can kind of manage my own stress and mindfulness and being present and all of that, but when you're working with somebody else, sometimes it's kind of hard. And if you're working with a client who's, in duress of some kind, or is very stressed out, or is having a hard time, and you're trying to help them, you may want to remind them of this as well. I want you to start to become aware of your breath and try to lengthen the breath. Slowing the rate of your breathing down just a little bit, which will also slow the rate of your heartbeat just a little bit. You don't want to enter into the work that I'm teaching you tonight from a, you don't want to, because here's what happens, and it's ironic, but I have learned this to be true, and it's supported by physics. The more your body is working, breathing, stressed, right? Imagine when you're running, or you're nervous, or someone's chasing you, your frequency actually drops. Your frequency actually goes down, your energetic frequency, because all of your resources go toward whatever you're fighting. It's like fight or flight, right? So fight or flight, and we know this from medicine as well. If you live your life in fight or flight, you're going to get sick, right? Because it lowers your frequency so much. So one of the things I want to invite you to start doing, because we're going to do the work together in about 15 minutes or so, I want to start to invite you to notice your breathing, slow it down, lengthen the inhale, lengthen the exhale. We're not doing breath work, you know what I mean? We're not doing a looped breath, not pranayama tonight. We'll do that another time. But for tonight, just breathing regularly and just really trying to slow it down. Nova's taking her pants off. I love it. Take your pants off, girl. I would too, but it would get really weird. So really bring your breath down if you can. Also, and I know this is going to sound really funky, as soon as we're out of this intellectual portion of tonight's events, I kind of want you to slow your thinking just a little bit. There are different ways to do that. You can burn things. We have a Blue Lotus candle at Sage Goddess that's made with Blue Lotus oil. If you inhale that too much, you're going to be going on a fun ride. If you have some Blue Lotus, I have a little mugwort in my bowl, so I'm going to try and just focus on the mugwort that's in here. If you have any Buchu, if you have any Boom Shiva from SG, but again, mugwort will work, Blue Lotus will work really well. Some of you just have the loose herbs. I love it. Tulini for you is like, my pants are always off. You know what? You know how to live. My kids didn't wear pants till they were 4 and had to go to school. They hated pants. So maybe try burning something. Again, if you're just coming off a long day and you need to kind of release some energy, or maybe you're stressed out about something else, just really starting to like slow down the thoughts. You know what I mean? Like just be one thought at a time. Like I taught you, start to monotask, right? I taught you this in Soul Shift. As a way of toning your vagus nerve and kind of calming your central nervous system. So like if you're in the class right now but you're thinking about cooking dinner later, you're not monotasking, right? So fully being present in this moment will help too. Okay, so I'm going to continue, but I want you to take responsibility of starting to relax a little bit, because you're going to have a better, deeper experience if you come into it from that place. Okay. I want you to also notice as we begin this work together too, so I'll give this visual to you. We are going to be working in a sphere of light tonight. And within that sphere, we're going to activate the Metatron's cube, okay? The sphere is the only way, the only shape of light that can hold this, all the totality of this. So the sphere is within it, but the sphere can also, a sphere of light can actually hold the energy of this vibrating shape. So I want you to imagine, because Metatron really governs what we call the Temple of Light. And that Temple of Light exists without you. It exists out in the universe separate from you, but that Temple of Light also exists within you too. So I want you to imagine, and you can visualize it at your heart space or at your solar plexus. Different people see Metatron's energy differently in their field. I tend to associate Metatron with my heart, because my heart is, you know, as your heart is, the 4th chakra. It's the center of your energy field. So everything kind of emanates from there. So I just consider it the good center of energy, but if you want to consider this work coming from your solar plexus, that's equally good in my experience. So what I want you to do is I want you to imagine, focus all of your energy in on that temple of light within you, that heart space or that solar plexus space, and bring your full attention there, staying with your breath, a deeper inhale, a deeper exhale. So we're going to set the field right now. And I want you to bring your full awareness to that place within you. Some people, if you're a visual learner, it might help to even just imagine your physical heart, like make it a big red glowing heart shape, or imagine, you know, an anatomical heart beating. Some people like to imagine it as a sphere of pink light in your heart space or a sphere of green light. So bring your full attention to that heart space right now. And I'm going to open a circle because we are going to be calling in energy tonight. Big energy. The biggest energy there is. Most people agree there is no bigger energy in our universe than Metatron. And there is no more powerful sacred geometry than Metatron's cube. So we're dealing with big stuff tonight. So I want to invite in the guides and the guardians just very quickly. This isn't a full calling of the directions, but just to invite in the guides and the guardians of the 4 horizontal gateways. To the east with air, to the south with fire, to the west with water, to the north with earth. And we welcome you in to hold and anchor that horizontal axis for us, that horizontal plane of energy, which also is this here now moment. And then I want to call in the guides and the guardians of the vertical axis, the vertical gateways, the upper world, the middle world, and the lower world, which governs all of the angels, everyone in our current earthly plane, and then all of the ancestral bones and crystals in the Earth's matrix. So calling in the guides and the guardians of the vertical gateways to be with us as well, so that both planes of consciousness are held. And as we do this, I want you to imagine, I mean, if you're standing, lengthen that body and out, you know, stretch out your arms if you want. You can really just bring your arms up and feel the, you know, your wingspan if that feels good to you. You don't have to do that, but when you start to become aware of these gateways, it gives you an opportunity to expand your energy, to lengthen your body, to stretch out, and really feel your energy field, you know? I mean, really feel, well, that's why I would say wingspan. It's really like how wide and broad and expansive is your energy field, right? Okay. Now, come back to that heart space, that heart center. Now that we have a nice tight container to do some energy work in. And I want you to imagine, you know, how big is your heart, right? A couple of inches. Now I want you to imagine beaming that light out, expanding that light from your temple of light within your heart space. Let's make it 12 inches wide. So let's imagine expanding that heart space energy to be 12 inches. And take a deep breath there. So now we're at 1 foot. And then we're going to push it out to 3 feet outside of you. So let's blow that heart space up even bigger and wider to encompass 3 feet. And just feeling the energy like you're holding a big sphere of love. A big vibrating ball of love. And then let's blow it up from 3 feet out to 6 feet. So now it's bigger than me now. I'm 5 feet tall. So I am not 6 feet. So now that we've blown it out to 6 feet, now it's bigger than me. So now I feel like I can step into it, which is the work of tonight. Everything we're doing tonight is dimensional and frequency based and visualization based. So you could say, well, I don't see a sphere. What did I step into? But energy is very real. So because you're human, in order to be human, your frequency had to come down, had to be lowered. That's why you can't see ghosts, or not most humans can. Some humans can if they know how to do interdimensional work and can figure out how to raise their frequency without dying, which some people have learned how to do. I am not a master of that. I have had interdimensional experiences, but I can't consistently keep my frequency up without causing harm to my physical body. So that's a tricky gift. But it's true. If you were not human, if your frequency was high enough, which would mean you couldn't have a body, but if your frequency was high enough, you'd be able to see what we're doing right now, and it would actually be very clear in front of you. So you kind of have to go with the process and trust it. But for those of us who have crossed the dimensional boundaries before through plant medicine and other experiences, we can tell you this is, if you were doing this in an altered state, you would see exactly what we're creating here. So now we have that 6 foot sphere of light. And again, I want you to imagine stepping into it, feeling it seal behind you. Okay? Oh, that's awesome. Thank you for that, Rachel. So step into it, feel it seal behind you. And I want you to kind of like run your hands through your field and see if, you can use your pendulum for this too. Pendulum will always tell you kind of where the boundaries are of the energy. So do you see it's not this far yet? No, it's not that far yet. So I'm going to continue expanding. What kind of harm happens? Well, you can only have a certain frequency to be human and be alive. I mean, that's why your soul is eternal, but then it comes into this body, right? And so it gets locked in this body. So people can have psychic breaks when their frequency gets too high, but they're trapped in a human body. They can have a psychic break. That's a subject for a whole other day, though. We're not doing any work in Soul Shift that would cause that, but plant medicine experiences that are not led ethically by good people can cause some real problems. So now I'm going to continue expanding, spreading, seeing if I can feel into where the boundary is now. Now let's push out to 9 feet. 9 feet around the perimeter. Sometimes we all have multidimensional experiences. Have you ever had deja vu? Do you know what deja vu is? I think you do. Did you see? Look, the energy expanded. Do you see? That's so cool. And then you can kind of track it out to the perimeter. And just watch. At a certain point, what I do is when I can't move my arm out any further, I'm good. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really need to know. It's already active. Can you see my pendulum? It's already active at the edge of my field. So I've pushed it out far enough. Okay, so deja vu is you jumping timelines. It's you having an interdimensional experience. It's one of the only experiences humans can have in a fully 3D context that proves to you that you're living multiple realities at once. You've already been here. You've already done this. It's already over. You're already on to the next lifetime while you're living this one and reconciling all the ones before. And there's some part of you that goes, I've been here before. And then you're like, yeah, I have, right? It is. It's a glitch in the Matrix, Michelle, or it's, you know, if you've read A Wrinkle in Time, which I had the pleasure of reading to both my kids, they were so excited to learn that tessera means four in Greek, ena diotria tessera. And so they were like, oh, so that's what tessering is. Tessering is leaving the third dimension and going to the fourth dimension, because tessera means four in Greek. Those little tidbits are fun for kids sometimes. It's a real glitch. It's a real glitch in the Matrix. That's right. Okay. How are you doing? Have you been able to push it out? Are you inside of it? Did you check it with your pendulum? Because that was another one of our Crystal Masters classes. So a lot of you have a tool. Were you able to feel it at the edge and see that the energy is around you? And like I said, I think you only need to test it at the perimeter of the field. And when I take it down, I'll show you, right? Yeah. What if I dream of something and it comes true? Is that deja vu? No, that's called precognition. And it's a spiritual gift. So it means you're precognitive. You're claircognizant. And that's a profound spiritual gift. Truly, truly. Yeah, it's a great question from Gloria. If you haven't had deja vu in years, Beth Bruno, it doesn't mean anything, but you know what? You may not notice it. I'll share this with you because it's kind of relevant. So at the beginning of this whole pandemic, I have a friend, and she's a really interesting soul. She's a very powerful spiritual person. And she, I won't get into her views. She doesn't really believe that everything is the way we're being told it is. So I find her interesting to listen to sometimes. The most important thing she told me right after this whole thing started was, she said, please make sure you don't miss your own ascension. This is an ascension process. And if you get bogged down in worrying and anxiety and fear, you will miss it, because you can't worry and ascend at the same time. And I was like, you know what? That just rings true for me. You cannot worry and ascend at the same time. So even if you are radically nervous about things, it would be good for you to cultivate the Jedi power of learning to take your anxiety and just put it outside. You know what I mean? Like, have an anxiety box, maybe. I'm actually not kidding. And some people do this with a physical box. They call it the God box, right? So they'll actually get a physical box, and they will write down everything they're worried about and put it in the box. And then they're not allowed to worry about it anymore. I've done that with my kids, because my kids get anxiety sometimes. Not terribly bad, but once in a while, right? So if you've been stressed and anxious and fearful, I would really recommend that you either visualize a God box, or make a God box, or you can call it a source box, or whatever you want, Jack in the Box, and put your shit in it. And then leave it there, you know, because otherwise you're going to get mired down. So I share that with you because what we're doing tonight requires you to let go of a lot of that. That's why I'm trying to slow your breathing down, slow your thinking down, slow your heart rate down, slow your anxiety down. Because again, the lower those things go, the lower your blood pressure is, the lower your heart rate is, the higher the spin of your personal energetic frequency. It increases your spin. So yeah, however you choose to do that, even just a shoe box or like an Amazon box or whatever comes to you, that's your anxiety box, and shit goes in there, doesn't come out. Well, I don't know, Jack in the Box. We're non-denominational around here, that's why I'm like, whatever you want to call it, you can call it whatever you want to call it, just put your shit in it and leave it alone. Okay. So now we're prepared for everything else. Now I want to I'm going to use a double terminated wand to do this. Because I want to do a little transmission work. I'm going to do this on your behalf. If you want to repeat along with me, you can, but I'm just doing this for our collective. So into this sphere of light tonight, I welcome the angels and archangels. And I'm just sending and receiving, double terminated wands are little transmitters, right? Into this circle tonight, I welcome the angels and archangels. I welcome the ascended masters. I welcome our spirit guides. I welcome our ancestors who can guide us through this work at this time. I welcome these energies to be present with us and to merge with us across all dimensions, all matrices of energy. I invite these energies in to merge with us across all fields of space and time. We welcome these energies in this moment. And you can welcome in anything else you want to welcome in. I usually welcome in the Holy Spirit for myself because that's an energy that I adore and feel very connected to. You can call in, I called in all the archangels, but I very much want to welcome Metatron to be present with us. My experience of Metatron, by the way, is I find Metatron joyful and gentle. To me, I find Metatron's energy so intensely powerful that it almost can be nothing but kind. There's such a radiant benevolence to that energy that it just feels like the ultimate source of love and union. So I welcome that energy in as well. And we give thanks for all those presences who are joining us this evening. Now, look, I'm through half my notes. We only have 50 minutes left. We'll get there. Okay. Now, one of the things I want you to focus on before we begin the exercise itself, I want you to think about, and this would be something that you would have a conversation with if you were doing this work with a client or with a friend or a family member. You would want to have a conversation about what you are actually going to release. Because the energy of the Metatron's cube is both of sending and receiving, both of releasing and allowing. And so that's why it's such a powerful cosmic gateway. It's not just a releasing gateway, and it's not just a receiving gateway. The energy goes both ways, in all directions, at all times, across all channels, across all galaxies, through the entire multiverse. I felt that kind of like up my spine. Right? Across all planes, all dimensions, in all directions, through your body, out of your body, past your body. And this is where this energy work gets so powerful because, and I've seen a lot of people use this work, by the way, for weight loss. Because once they learn how to plug into that much broader matrix of energy, it isn't just their own human metabolism doing the work. I've actually seen this work speed up people's metabolisms. There's nothing, honestly, that isn't possible once you plug into these multiple planes of awareness, these multiple dimensional frequencies, right? Yeah, did you feel it? Whoop. Yep, it's there. It's true. Casey said experiencing that, what I just told you, but during plant ceremony, when you're in an altered state, is unlike anything else. Those for sure have been the most powerful experiences of my human life. So I share that perspective with you. Okay. So now we've got all of our guides here with us too. I want you to ask yourself what you want to call in tonight and what you want to release. And weight's a great one. Weight's a great one to release. Weight loss is energetic. Please, if you believe me on nothing else, it is true. If you are sad, discouraged, if your frequency is low, you can eat almost nothing and gain weight. Conversely, if your frequency is high and you're way plugged in, you can find yourself eating more and losing weight. And it's not because of your weight or your hormones or anything else. It's like, that's all very human. We're talking about energetics, right? Yeah, Tina said when she had her awakening, her metabolism boosted. It can change your body shape. It can change everything. It's really an intense experience. So, what are you calling in? Let's have that over here to the right. What are you receiving tonight? Um, I'm even thinking. I'm so focused on what I'm releasing that sometimes it's hard. I have to stop and actually ask myself, what am I receiving, right? What are you receiving? I'm receiving joy, support, and spaciousness. Spaciousness. Like I've been playing with like how we can stretch time because I'm very busy right now in my life with the move and 94 other things and kids who like to skip class because we're at home. So I've been trying to create these like strings of spaciousness in time so that I don't feel like I'm just running from one call to another or one meeting to another or one keeping track of their schedule and all of that. So perfect health, some grace, some spaciousness, some alignment maybe would be another really cool thing to call in tonight, some ease. Well, I'm just helping you identify. We're not actually doing the work right now. And here's what's interesting, Lauren. This is the one situation where you are not going to release first. That's why Metatron's Cube is so different. I'll show you the exercise in just a minute. You're going to release and receive at the same time. Because it's coming from all directions and you're releasing from all directions. So, okay, so now we know what we're calling in. What are you releasing? I'm releasing nerve pain, my quarantine pounds, which are the result of baby Snickers and all my baking and all my real butter cooking. So I'm releasing my quarantine pounds. I'm releasing nerve pain. What are you releasing? Could be so many different things. You could be releasing frustration or sorrow or grief or anxiety or tension, right? Yeah, it's a great question. Candace said, when going through energetic upgrades, what does it mean when you have no appetite? Such a great question, Candace, and I will tell you, I was just talking to someone in Soul Shift about this because she was telling me that she basically hasn't eaten in like 2 months. But she feels great. She's lost like 18 pounds and she's drinking all the time, teas and, you know, all these mushroom concoctions and all these things, but she doesn't feel called to food. And she was asking me if I thought that was okay. And I said, yeah, that's an upgrade. I mean, when we're really upgrading food, you're digesting energy from other sources. And so it's almost like you've had a whole meal all the time. It can feel like that. And that's what some people call breatharianism. They're not actually living on air, but they are learning how to consume energy as a source of physical fuel, which is, again, a process of jumping timelines. Does that make sense? Because outside of this dimension, you don't need food. You know, your ancestors aren't somewhere sitting down to, you know, a meal from Burger King. They're not driving through. Have you ever thought about that? They don't eat animals and burgers and things. They don't cook with real butter. So in the spirit world, they don't have the need for consumption of resources in such a physical way. Yeah. Totally. Very interesting, isn't it? So we know what we're calling in, we know what we're releasing. Now, I would recommend that you do one of each, because that way you'll have a real litmus test for whether this was successful for you or not. If you decide to release 10 things and call in 10 things, how will you know? I mean, I guess if they all just appear on your cosmic plate, then everything worked, right? Yeah, so that's true, it's soul food. That's why they call it mana, you know, in the Bible. It's being spiritually fed from non-material sources. That's right. Yeah. Do they drink meat in Valhalla? I would hope so. I would expect nothing less from our Viking ancestors. They better be drinking some really good mead there in Valhalla. The Valkyries, I'm sure, are hooking them up. That's right. Yeah, so I would focus on one, but again, you know me, I'm not going to tell you what to do. So if you want to do 10 and 10, you can totally do that and see how it goes. Okay. Now, do you want to know how this works or why this works from a physics perspective, or do you just want me to get to the thing? I always go back and forth about this because, on the one hand, you didn't sign up for a physics class. I don't want to make this too technical, and I don't want to bore you and have you tune out. You know what I mean? On the other hand, I think there's some real science behind this. It's newer science. It's in the realm of quantum physics, but do you want me to just can I just give you like the overview? I won't dilly-dally on it too long. Okay, okay. I just never know because I don't want you to tune out and get bored, but at the same time, it's like, some people might be like that. Okay, all the things. Okay, I'll do all the things. Okay. You have to think about how our system is structured, our universe is structured, okay? You have molecules and atoms, right? And for most of the lineage of physics, it's been what we call, atomic particles, right? It's the basic building blocks of life. It's the particles, electrons, and protons, and how they interact together, right? That create cells, that form basically the structure of life. Molecules, atoms, okay? Underneath what we call atomic physics is what we call subatomic physics. Activity happening on the physical plane, but at a level so small, it's smaller than protons and smaller than molecules. That's why they call it subatomic. It's smaller than or underneath, beneath even the most microparticles you can imagine, okay? And Einstein really edged up against this whole concept, but string theory, which is what this is called, has really become more relevant and more studied over the last 10 to 20, 30 years. And there's some really interesting, if you ever get interested in this, there are great books, there's great TED Talks. Most of the TED Talks are given by theoretical and particle physicists, so they get very, very technical. There was one thing I wanted to show you, though. Let me see if I can pull it up. Because I've been studying this. It's called the Calabi-Yau manifold. Have you heard of the Calabi-Yau manifold? I go down some rabbit holes, kids. Okay. Beneath the level of atoms, there are strings. That's why it's called string theory. They are particulate strings. Some physicists call them vibrating filaments. They have to come up with all these like different words of saying the same thing. It is not visible to the eye, but there is lots of energy happening. Okay, this is what it's called. So those strings interact, and this is what they form. This is one of the shapes that they form. It's called the Calabi-Yau manifold. And here's where this just goes nuts for me. I haven't really seen anybody put this together, by the way. I put this together in my head, so I may be incorrect or it may make no sense to you. Do those two things not look very similar to you? When I was researching this, and I started researching string theory when I was a professor at the University of San Diego because I taught kind of the basic components of string theory in a leadership class. I was always fond of bringing in different, theories and modalities and fields into my lectures. Do you see the similarity? It's not just me, right? When you look at that, Calabi-Yau, you see it, right? I mean, there's no way that these are unrelated phenomenon. Right? These are all representations of the Calabi-Yau. Now, the Calabi-Yau is made of strings, so you have to remember, right? It creates the geometry, but the geometry is a series of these filament strings that hang together. It's kind of hard to see that, but do you see how it's all strings? You can go down that rabbit hole later. But if you're at a dinner party and somebody's like, oh, the Calabi-Yau manifold, and you're like, oh, I totally got that. Okay. Here's what's fascinating, and this will be the end of my physics lecture for you tonight, but I had to slide this in here since you gave me permission, okay? In order for that Calabi-Yau manifold to exist, in order for everything that we're talking about in the realm of filament strings of energy that, and these strings communicate with each other, so they're intelligent, okay? In order for those things to exist, and this is straight from physics, this is not me, in order for those things to exist, there have to be at least 3 dimensions beyond the 3rd dimension in our universe. It is one of the first points of proof in the realm of particle physics that there are at least 3 dimensions beyond the 3rd dimension. Now, you and I believe there are 12, right? But for physicists to say that there have to be at least 3 dimensions beyond the 3rd dimension, which is where you and I are now taking this class, there have to be. Now, Calabi-Yau is spelled C-A-L-A-B-I -Y-A-U, and then it's called the manifold, M-A-N-I-F-O-L-D. Isn't that awesome? Calabi-Yau. So this is exciting for those of us who want to, in our lifetimes, imagine finally that metaphysical people will be taken seriously. And when we talk about the 12 dimensions of reality, people won't roll their eyes. They'll actually say, oh yeah, that's physics. And we'll be like, oh yeah, it totally is. Because it is, but we haven't been able to make that claim and really be supported by the field of physics. Yeah, that's so good. Okay, so now we have some tethering of everything that I've been explaining to you and how it connects in the physical world. Now, what are those 12 dimensions of reality? This is important before we start doing our physical work together. Under your feet is the Earth star, okay? And we're not going to go super deep into that. There is an Earth gateway that is beneath that chakra, okay? That is the deepest core of our connection to the planet, and it goes beneath the mantle and the crust of our planet, which is really where the Earth star is. It goes into the deepest core of the planet and anchors us there, okay? So this is the foundation of our energy system. This is what we consider to be the 1st dimension, right? Then we go up into the Earth star, which is beneath your feet, right at your feet. It's the point where your feet make contact with the earth. Then we come into the sacral, the solar plexus, the heart, throat, the 3rd eye, the crown, the soul star. Above the soul star you have the stellar gateway, the universal gateway, and then the cosmic gateway. And the cosmic gateway, after that 12 gateway, splits and goes off and forms these other networks. So I believe there are more dimensions beyond the 12, but those are sort of the vertical portals that actually run through your physical body and connect you not only to the core of the planet, but to the highest dimensions of the angelic frequencies at the same time. Okay, so we are going to be tapping into all of those dimensional realities tonight. So if you are going to stay seated and get nice and comfortable. This is the wand that I'm working with tonight. So I'll show you. And I've told some of you about this wand and showed it to you in Soul Shift, I think. But you may not have seen it if you're in Crystal Masters and not in Soul Shift. So this wand was supposed to be in a gem sale like 8 weeks ago, something like that. And it broke. And so I sent it back to the artist who made it, and he's like, oh, don't worry, I'll fix it. But I actually didn't think anybody would want it. It was kind of a weird looking wand. I mean, you know, it's beautiful, but it's not as flashy, right? It has kind of a sparkly, but, you know, it's chalcedony, right? So I was like, well, I don't know. And then it's got some really pretty stones here and a quartz point, but I thought, I have to be the right person for that wand. So he sent it back, and I took the wand out of the box. And it wasn't like this when I sent it, but after I got it back, and I still can't hold it for very long, my whole hand shakes like this. And I'm not a naturally shaky person. I cannot hold this for very long. So you may find as you start to work with your tools that one or two of them really become super buzzy with you, And that's a good tool to work with for an exercise like this. So if you have one you're really connected to, when I did the exercise this morning as a dry run for tonight, I used this wand. And afterward, my hand was like hot and buzzy for an hour. So, and what's really cool is, because I only get buzzy when I hold this part, I was able to find these stones for Sage Goddess. I went on a massive hunt. They're very hard to find because there's just very little of it on the planet. I only ever found one little pocket of it. So I think I have like 20 pieces coming. It's not very much, but isn't it cool? So, okay. So one of you asked, Chris, how does this help to heal the body? So what we're doing tonight, Chris, in a nutshell, is multidimensional healing. You are using the force of the Metatron's cube to open an energy field, because this is the most powerful energy in our cosmos. This one shape, which is your class tool, this is just kind of a recap, but kind of to explain the process to you. This one shape includes all of the platonic solids and every geometric shape in our cosmos in this one shape. So by holding this or having it, this just needs to be 12 inches, within 12 inches of you for this exercise. So I'm going to sit mine in front of me. You can hold it, you can keep it in your bra, you can put it in your pocket. It just has to be within 12 inches of you for this exercise. What I did earlier was I opened up a broader energy field for you coming out of that temple of light, using the energy of Metatron to push your energy field out to 9 feet. And that was the exercise where I ran the pendulum so you could see if the energy field had been expanded. Now we're going to use this wand, since we've activated the Metatron's cube. We are going to use this wand, we are within Metatron's cube right now, to call in energy from below and from above and anchor it into our own personal energy field. And I've been using this, just like I did today, for pain relief. You can use it both to send and receive energy, because remember, and this is from earlier, you have your point up triangle that is calling energy down from the higher dimensions, and you have your point down triangle, which is calling energy up. The point down triangle also allows you to release energy. The point up triangle allows you to send and receive. So the reason that we are not receiving last and sending first or anything like that is because in Metatron's cube, there's no first and last. Do you see? The energy might go this way or that way or up or down or to the side or around, and all of it is encapsulated in the sphere. Does that make sense? So yeah, and you can visualize your field being expanded. I like to use my pendulum because it proves to me that it's been expanded, and since most of you, it was one of our classes, so most of you have a pendulum, but you don't have to have a pendulum. I will also tell you, any of your necklaces, for the most part, probably work as pendulums, especially if you've been wearing them a long time. So if you don't have a pendulum, you may want to use a necklace to do that. Okay, are there any other questions? Because it's really helpful for me to be able to explain this to you. Basically, right now, you're sitting inside of this energetically. That's what we opened up earlier. And now we're going to harness that energy and bring it into our bodies and also release through our bodies. It's all happening at the same time. Okay, so let me see if I can get to a place where you can see me completely. If I tilt the camera up a little bit, or if I go back. Can you kind of see all of me now? I may have to do this kind of on my knees more than standing up, which is okay. I just want to make sure you can see me. But I was standing up earlier, so if you have the capacity to stand up, I would stand up. But if I stand up, even though I'm super short, you're still not going to really see me doing it. So, okay. So, I hold the round end of my single terminated wand with both hands. So whichever type you're working with, if you're working with one of your polished wands, you just want to put both hands over the base. You're holding on to the round end and you're keeping the pointed end away from you, okay? So whatever wand you have is perfect. Any single terminated wand will work. But you are the gatherer of the energy. So we're going to begin by going down to the earth. And I want you to make contact with the crystal point, the point of your wand, with the floor. Mine is touching the floor. And I want you to take a deep breath there. Let the breaths be really long. Now we're going to bring the wand up in front of you. And the whole time we're doing this, you need to be visualizing sending energy, releasing energy, and receiving energy. So, and keep focused on your intention. So I am releasing pain, I am receiving joy, right? I am releasing pain, I am receiving joy. I am releasing pain, I am receiving joy. And bring your hands above your head. And now extend your arms down, outward, in front of you, and out to the other side. Then bring your arms down in front of you and up to your heart. And a deep breath there. Okay, now, what I like to do, and only if this feels good to you, is start to work with the wand on the side of your body where you might be having discomfort if you're releasing pain. I like to do it on both sides because it's just fun to experience the difference. If you don't have a wand, by the way, try using your finger. Like, try just directing this energy by holding your finger. And then out both sides, down, in front of you, into your heart. Okay. The terminated end of your wand is an activator of energy, right? Just like your extraction needles. So what I want you to do is begin to activate the energy in your hand the way I've taught you before. And you can move that energy down your fingers if that feels good. And then what I have been doing is taking the wand and directing it over the area of my body where I was experiencing discomfort, and making physical contact with the wand to my arm, my hand. And it feels good too. And you might want to sing or chant or recite mantra or just exhale through this. If we weren't together, you could have music playing, right? Music that you love. If you find a spot where the energy feels particularly dense, I want you to take the rounded end of your wand. Now what I like to do is think about Metatron's cube, right? You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points, right? So you've got north and south, and then you've got the cross quarters. So try to direct that energy out of your field through one of those gateways. And it doesn't matter which one, because the energy is all equal. So I point it up, but you can point it to the right, you can point it to the left. It just has to be any of these 6 directions of the Metatron's cube. So find a place where you have discomfort and then visualize the energy releasing through that termination. And this just becomes a process of you're doing energy work on yourself, right? And sometimes you'll be guided, like turn it to the right, see what your intuition tells you, and mine keeps saying turn it to the right. But you might be guided to turn it down. Energy, to release energy from your body, you have to give it permission and a pathway. Permission and a pathway. So the contact point is the permission, and the direction is the pathway to leave the body. And basically what you're doing is you're removing a blockage, right? You're identifying a blockage. And so it isn't just about releasing energy. I believe there's energy coming through the wand to clear the blockage at the same time. And listening to your intuition. I'm kind of doing this in real time with you so that you can see what it looks like. My whole arm was red today because I worked on myself for like half an hour, but it felt so good afterward. It's telling me to turn it to the right. Are you feeling the kind of weather veining at all? Do you feel yourself being guided to turn the wand one direction or the other? And you'll start to hear that guidance. And I don't know that the directions have specific meaning, but it might just be the pathway of least resistance, right? Yeah, if you're yawning, it's so good. When we release energy, we yawn, we burp, we fart, we sweat. You know, you got to be kind of non-judgmental about the body functions, because your body doesn't know it's not polite to fart through your whole ceremony. Fortunately, I yawn, so I just look tired and bored during ceremony, but I'm not, you know, creating a stink. Okay. And if you want to like take one more area, like I always have a little bit of like a little shitty thing over here on my side. It's probably a residue of like my sciatic situation, so I'm being told to turn the wand up. See if you can get into that pocket if you have any discomfort in another place. And keep breathing. And you can visualize the energy coming in to clear. It's down here. And one of the things you can do too as a test of this, if you're skeptical, and I'm skeptical, so if you always see me checking with my pendulum, I will usually ask the pendulum, is the energy blocked here? Now I waited until I was done. I meant to say, is the energy cleared here? So let me ask it clearly. Is the energy cleared here? That's what I was thinking. Is there any additional energy that needs to be cleared on this side? No. Yeah, and I can feel it. I mean, it increases my range of motion in my arm, you know, where like at the beginning of the day today, it would have been hard to take my arm all the way back, but now I can do it and I have no discomfort. And you can do the same thing on the other side. Is the energy clear on this side? Is there any additional energy that needs to be cleared on this side? No. I still feel energy down on my right hip. So I know I still have some. Is there energy to clear here? Yeah. I got some hip work to do. Yeah, so now that I've told you about yawning, you're going to be yawning. It feels really good. Now, imagine how good it would feel, and I'm not tooting my own horn, if you know, any of you could do it, but imagine how good it would feel if you were just laying right here, and I could just take this and go into your back or into your shoulder or into your neck or up the backs of your legs, and really, you know, with massage oil and with the music playing, and I mean, imagine like what that experience would be like. And this for me, you know, I've gone to many crystal healers in my life. I've only ever been one crystal healer that didn't disappoint me. All the other crystal healers I went to, afterward I was like, did they even do anything? You know what I mean? Like, I remember at least 4 of them that I went to just laid a crystal on each one of my chakras and chanted, you know, and it's like, well, that's good, but that's not going to move my needle. So this is the kind of exercise where I feel like if you had a half hour or 45-minute session with someone and you did this work on them, they would be able to feel it. And you could even play with them and say, hey, do you feel the difference when I move the wand to the left as opposed to the right? And most will say, oh my gosh, when you moved it back to the left, I felt it clearing, and then when you switch it to the right, I didn't feel it anymore. Please continue to work on the left. And you can make the client, you know, become a partner with you in the process, which allows them to feel like they're taking responsibility for their healing too, and they're also learning to tap into their energy. So you can ask them, hey, do you want to participate? Would you like to let me know? You know, maybe you can sense the energies and kind of guide my hand, and usually people will be very excited to do that with you, and it becomes a fun, interactive, and it's also a learning experience for them. Okay, someone was asking how this works for weight loss. I know it's nuts. But when you set the intention through an exercise like this to release energy of weight, you create a new hologram. And your body adjusts your metabolism and your frequency to align to that new intention. And it will even adjust your appetite. It will adjust your desire for food. This happened to me about 4 years ago. And everything I loved eating, all of a sudden I didn't want it. And it was like, how can I not want that? And even to this day, I haven't come back into wanting some of those foods. it can really transform your body, because weight loss is an energetic issue. You're holding on to weight because you're holding on to something that you need to let go of. Especially if you're like most people I know who aren't even eating that much, and yet nothing they do makes a difference. And they'll go, well, it's because I'm going through menopause. No, it's because you're holding on to old shit. And it's time to go. So what you might want to do, like, find the area. I really wish I had these crystals out of here so I could get more comfortable. Let's straddle this a little bit. Find the area where you feel like you're holding some weight right now. So like, I feel like I'm holding extra weight in my abdomen. So, and then go in and do the same exercise. So it needs permission and a pathway. And see if you feel like it feels tighter when I move the wand this way. Because again, you've got the 6 points of Metatron's cube to work with. I feel it's more open when I direct the wand this way. So toggle it a little bit, see if you can figure out where the energy is the most open. And release the whatever it is, because it's some energy I'm holding here, right? Release this energy here. And then call in a frequency of a higher vibration, a higher metabolism, right? Yeah, my timing is really bad because Sheila has a pizza that's about to be delivered. I love you, Sheila. That picture of you today, oh my God, made my day. I wonder how often you guys know that, like, the stuff that you post, just, you're such a bright light in my life, all of you. I just love having you in my world. And if you have, weight somewhere else, do it somewhere else. You got to get over here with your behind. I mean, I know it looks weird, but it needs permission and a pathway, baby. Tell that butte, that extra butte, the junk in the trunk, it has to go. And again, see where it, now this, when I'm down here, when I move the wand to the left, it feels looser. When I move the wand to the right, it feels tighter. You want it looser because that's a better energy flow. Does that make sense? And you can do this as often as you like. If it feels good, because I find, especially on my arms, it feels really, really good. This also feels really good on the back of the neck. You can find a spot where you have some tension and some discomfort. And again, see where it feels tight or loose. Yeah, it's tight on the left, so then I go open to the right. If your heart is aching, right? How many wands can you use at once? Listen, if you have to double fist this, we should have a conversation. But you could. I mean, you could. You could be a full-on, like, you're going to look like, I don't know what that looks like. A little weird. Yeah, let me explain loose versus tight. So when you get into an area or a pocket, let me find an actual one so that I can do this in real time. You're looking for an area of discomfort. I've moved so much energy today. I've still got a little bit right here. Okay, so when you get to that place, you want to move the wand in the 6 points of the Metatron's cube, right? So you either want to go straight up, left or right, or straight down, left or right. I usually work up, but sometimes center, left or right makes a difference for the flow of the energy. So when I move the wand to the left, sometimes the energy feels tight, meaning it almost feels like it's hard to move the wand, like it doesn't want to go any further. Does that make sense? And then if I move it center, it feels a little bit easier to move. And then when I move the wand right, it just feels like, over here it feels more constricted energetically to the left. And then when I move it to the right, it feels like the energy is a little bit looser. It's easier to move the wand. And so what that tells me is the energy that's coming from this direction, which is still one of the points in the Metatron's cube, is more freely flowing as opposed to the energy over here. You don't want to have to work for it. Do you know what I mean? You want to find the path of least resistance of the energy. And in string theory, what they would say is that is a more resilient fiber, a more communicative fiber of energy. We're working with the lines of string theory, right? We're working at the subatomic level with particles that are connected but not visible. And so what we're basically doing is playing the strings of string theory. So release and receive where it's loose. You want a free flow of energy. So, and you're releasing and receiving at the same time. So I'm releasing this pain, but I'm also calling in ease, comfort, ease of movement at the same time. Yeah, so there's kind of a sweet spot. Are you guys feeling it? I'm trying to think if there's a different way that I can explain it. But let me know if you're feeling it. Like when you get to a certain, or you can try just doing it, in an easy place, like with the palm of your hand. Notice when you move your wand to the 6 positions, if you sense a deeper energy flow. You can also ask your pendulum. You can gauge it. And I'm just asking, is the energy flowing clearly here? And it seems like it's all open. Now let me turn it upside down. Is the energy flowing freely here? It doesn't like that shift. Did you see that? Yeah, it did not like that shift. Let me try this again. Is the energy flowing freely here? That's a yes. Did you see it automatically? Did you see that? It automatically turned. That was really crazy. It's pushing away. The direction of the wand like that is pushing my pendulum away from it. I really don't know if you can see this, but it's pretty nuts. It almost feels like there's a hand pushing it away from my hand. So what that tells me is that's not the direction to release the energy. How does this work with Reiki? You just incorporate the symbols. That's the beautiful thing about Reiki. It's the most powerful overlay, right? Because it's just another layer on this work that you can do. That's crazy. It was pushing. The only other time that's happened to me with a pendulum was when I was with the skull, the Mitchell Hedges skull. One of my dearest friends in the world is friends with the keeper of that skull, who lives in Indiana, and she gifted me 2 hours with that skull. And I didn't have a pendulum, but I was skeptical, so I wanted to see the energy flow, so I used my magician necklace that I usually have on. And at the center of the skull, it was like this. And then when I moved the pendulum away from the skull, the pendulum went out. My necklace went away. She saw it. Dave saw it. Dave was like, I don't know what the hell that was. And then when I moved my necklace to the other side of the skull, it pushed away the other side. So it went this way on the left and it went away. But when it was right over the skull, it was direct. I did it like 3 times. And Dave was like, I don't even know what that was. And I'm like, that was magic, dude. You got to see magic in the flesh, baby. Okay, so once you feel like you've moved some energy or you're just tired of doing it, at first you might just be excited about it, and so maybe you want to do it all the time. No, get your squished up boob fat and get all in there. You don't like what's going on over here? I'm pretty okay with the girls, you know what I mean? It's more like what's happening down here that I want to I want to change, but if you got some squishy squish that you're ready to let go of, get in there. You can call also, when you're in the Metatron's cube, you can call upon Metatron to bring those energies into your field. And again, just using your wand, calling it in, right out in front of you. So I call in a higher, faster metabolism. I call in a healthy body, a healthy, strong body, because my healthy may not be your healthy. If you look at like BMI, I'm supposed to be like 15 pounds lighter than I am, but I wouldn't even like my body that way. So I don't go by a number, but whatever your happy place is with your weight. And then you can say, I release this weight, this extra weight. I release whatever it is. For me, it's 7 or 10 pounds. I release it. I give it back to you. I release extra weight. I release being tired. I release fatigue. I release anything you want to release. And I call in a higher, faster vibrational frequency, a higher metabolism, because your frequency and your metabolism are very much connected. Yeah, baby. It's fun, isn't it? Yeah, you can get in there on your eyes. Be gentle with it. But yes, absolutely. And then just the same thing to improve your vision. My optic nerve is damaged from MS. My vision's okay. It's not great. No, I actually haven't thought about doing that, but I may actually do that. I wonder if I could actually heal the optic nerve with it. It's an interesting exercise to think about that. Is it releasing stress in your shoulder? I love that, Chris. And again, like, you can imagine, like, if you were here, what I could do to your shoulder if I was with you in person and it wasn't you trying to do it. So what I found is, for myself, I can get about 75% of the way to what I can do for somebody else, or what somebody else can do for me. So I don't think self-healing ever fully takes the place of, you know, being healed by another person. But it is pretty cool to know that just you, yourself, and you, and a visualization of this field that we expand, and a simple tool can really move energy. And that's why a lot of my customers, it's funny, but I'll have a double terminated wand for sale and they'll be like, do you have that in single terminated? Because they're about the body work. And you cannot do what we did tonight unless you have a flat-edged tool on one side and a terminated tool on the other. And it's so fascinating once you start to read the energy. You'll start picking up on things in a way that you have never picked up before. Isn't that fun? Bluebird's neck popped. I like it. Woo! So how many of you experienced a release or a relief of pain to some degree? In other words, you had more pain when you started class tonight than you have now. I'm seeing some comments. So I'm seeing Kathy. Yeah, it gets looser, right? So, and I think if you keep doing it every day, it's an incremental benefit and effect. It's a constant releasing and recycling of the energy. Yeah, if you have a bloodstone wand, especially, and you're doing pain release and pain relief work, that's something. Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm glad you're feeling better. I mean, that is the goal of all of this. That's why your crystals are here. That is so cool. And keep working with it, because what I will tell you is there's no limit to this. You know, Saya was asking, you know, could I use this for my vision? I'm not sure there's anything you can't use it for. Seriously. I mean, almost everything, because it's all energetic, will respond. Like your body, I learned that from a chiropractor friend of mine, and he said this to me one time, and I thought, you know, that is so true. He said, you know, your body has to respond to healing. There is a dynamism in the human biofield, right? And so your body has to respond to touch or manipulation of energy. It's just a physical reality. Yeah, so moved but not gone. So that's really what you should expect, Melissa. It's a shift. So if you had really severe sciatic, I don't think you're going to go from 0 to 60. I don't think you're going to go from all the pain to no pain right away. But it's incremental over time. And so if you were a crystal healer, you could imagine maybe working with a client on a series of 6 of these, right? So the client comes every 2 weeks. You do a 30-minute session, right? So you open the field, you identify releasing, receiving, set the intentions, right? Call in the directions, do a 30-minute session, and then release, and let the client go back and integrate, and then give them some suggestions for ways they can continue the work forward when they're not with you, right? So a visualization of Metatron's cube, or opening that inner temple of light and expanding the heart space out and asking them to continue those meditations. They can even work with their own tool at home, right? And it'll give them a way to kind of track their progress until they see you again. Woo. Now, you don't always have to do the full. I do like to, when I'm first going in, and I'm going to do it again now because I like to close and open the same way when I'm doing this work. You only have to do that, you know, it's basically the cross once at the opening and once at the closing. And it's always good to begin by holding the wand and taking the point to the floor. And now, because we're concluding, this is the expression of gratitude. So we give thanks for the release that we experienced tonight, and we give thanks for the energies that are freely flowing through this incredible temple of light that we're sitting inside. There's a video I want to post for you. I'll remember after we're done tonight. I'll go downstairs and post it. It's on YouTube. And it's just an image of a human body inside this shape, but it gives you a really cool visualization. And it has the human body is turning, you know what I mean? So you can really see the full rotation. That's how I want you to visualize where you are when you're doing this exercise. How much would you charge for a series of 6? Charging is always a slippery thing for me because how much you charge really depends on where you live. People in LA charge exorbitant amounts for healing. The healers that I know in LA are anywhere from 150, 200 an hour to, there's one woman who's $500 an hour. I don't work with her because I have to say, I've never charged $100 an hour. It's really hard for me to stomach that for a human being. I've heard she's great though, but I'm just saying in LA, that's kind of the going rate. So it would depend on where you live. A lot of places don't charge that because the cost of living is different. So, and then bringing it up in front of you, bringing it up over you. And really when you bring it up, like really imagining the expansiveness of the cosmos, like as if the ceiling of the room that you're in opens and, you know, it just goes up, 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 up. And you would do this exactly the same way for a client. It's a great question. So bringing the arms down, remember this, you're holding the wand in one hand and then bringing them in front of you. Switch hands with the wand. And then into the heart space. That felt really good. My body's very happy right now. Let's see. How do we expand the circle of light for a client? Exactly the way you did it here for yourself. So, and it's really good if you're, especially if you're working with a client for the first time. I hope you guys don't mind me answering questions like this, but I just assume at some point you're going to help somebody else. A lot of you may be here just to help yourselves. But my thought is, what if you change your mind at some point? Wouldn't you have wanted me to talk about like how to do this for other people? You know what I mean? So when I talk about these things, it's because at some point you may want to share this with somebody, and I want you to think about how to do that. So I love this question. Okay, so you want to have some representation of the Metatron's cube available for them to look at, especially if it's new to them, because I think it was helpful for you guys to see the 6 points as I was outlining it, the inverted triangles as I was outlining it, and it gives them a visualization of what the container actually looks like because they can't see it, right? So then you tell them, okay, you know, I'm going to open my inner temple of light. I'm going to ask you to open your inner temple of light. You can do that at the solar plexus of the heart and just imagining your actual physical heart or a red, you know, illuminated heart just beating and glowing within you. And then again, lead them through. Now we're going to expand it out 12 inches. And you can be sitting in front of them the whole time, running your pendulum and going, nope, keep pushing, keep pushing. Okay, now you're there. You know, and then when they expand it out to 6 feet, go, keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. I actually wonder if the field's still tight. Yeah, field's still tight because we haven't called it in. Okay, so that would be exactly how you would do that. Yeah, we should do some more Metatron jewelry, I think. It's a good idea. If you have your Soul Shift kit for this month, or if it's on its way to you, this is your cuff, and it has Metatron's cube inside of it. Isn't this the coolest cuff? If you guys haven't gotten yours yet, you're going to lose your mind. And they did a really big SG on it on the inside this time. Isn't that cool? It's a really heavy-duty sterling silver cuff. So what's nice about that, I'm so hard on my jewelry, I'm always afraid I'm going to crack something. I think that thing would crack me first. Oh, I'm so glad this is helping you guys. It makes me really happy. Okay, so let's go ahead. We're going to pull that light back into your heart space now. We're going to start to contract the energy. I'm going to release Metatron with gratitude tonight, releasing the angels and the archangels, releasing the spirit guides and ascended masters, releasing any of our ancestors who were here with us to be with us as we do this sacred work together, and releasing any other beings from the outer dimensions who were here with us. We give thanks for your presence and release you. Just a nice deep breath there. And now I want you to imagine, and you can test this with your pendulum, it's a great way of just validating what you're doing. So I want you to imagine now you push that sphere of light about 9 feet outside of you. So I want you to imagine and call that energy back in. We're going to start to contract the energy. Starting to contract, contract, contract. So you want to go from 9 feet to 6 feet, from 6 feet to 3 feet. Now it's getting tighter. You can kind of feel it coming in on you a little bit. And I start to feel cold. Whenever I get really warm when I'm in this big sphere of light, and then I start getting cold. And that's how I know. You'll have to see if your body registers the same reaction, but as soon as I start to contract it and I just get down to like 3 feet, and then I get sad because then I'm down to 12 inches. So I'm pulling that sphere of light in at 12 inches. I'm just noticing where the edge of the field is right now, pulling that energy in, pulling that energy in. Yep, now it's starting to shift. Okay. Pulling that energy in. Okay, so it's at about 12 inches right now. And bringing it all back into either the solar plexus or the heart where you began. And the most important thing to remember about tonight is that you carry this with you. You carry this with you. Make sure you keep your Metatrons cube close by. Now you want to have that kind of close to you. Or if you don't want to have to worry about this part, just put it in your bra. It's right here. Because you want to keep it within your energy field, so you don't want it too far out. You contracted everything down now to 12 inches, so you want to keep it really close by. And now just with a breath of love, we're going to release and seal that temple of light, knowing that that energy always lives on within our heart space, but just is not being activated at this time. Amen, aho, and so it is. So now the last step is to release all of the guardians of the gateways. Since we did such powerful work, that wants to come out of my bra, so I'm just going to hold it in my hand. Sorry. Got kind of fresh with you there. Didn't think it was that kind of class, did you? I know. Well, you know what? The right person could drill a hole in this. I'm telling you. If they had a Dremel or some kind of tool, they could drill a hole through this. I bet you there's some folks on Etsy, you know, if you reached out to them. If you find somebody who does it or has the equipment and you have it done, would you post in the group so that we can let other people know, or if there's a tool? Because you could drill through this and put it on a wire, you know, or on a cord, which would be pretty cool. Maybe I'll try to. Would you like me to have smaller ones made on a cord? It would take me probably about 60 days, but I could have it done. That's what I'll do. Alexis, let's ask Brooklyn if she could have small versions, like maybe half the size of this, so it's affordable, drilled and put on a cord, because I'd want it to be affordable and easy to wear. No, after 12 inches, I brought it all the way back in and released it. So you go from 9 feet to 6 feet to 3 feet to 12 inches, and then you pull it into your heart and release. Yeah, I'm thinking a little tiny, like, you know what I mean? So it could just be something easy and almost that you don't even notice it. So I'll work on that. You have a Dremel? Nova's going to be our hookup, girls and boys. I love it. Okay. So we're going to release the guides and the guardians first of the vertical channel, the lower realm, middle realm, and upper realm. Releasing all guides and guardians of those gateways tonight with so much gratitude for their presence during this work this evening. We release you with gratitude. And then to all guides and guardians of the horizontal axis, guardians of the north, west, south, and east, releasing the guardians of those gateways with gratitude for their presence as they anchored the space for us this evening. And with that, Crystal Masters for November is complete. Can you believe we have one class left in 2020? Like I said, Crystal Masters goes all the way through 2021. So, yeah, it's pretty exciting, isn't it? Yeah, let me see what I can do. I actually thought this carving turned out absolutely beautiful. I was really surprised they could do this for $20. These are hand carved. It's kind of a remarkable thing. I like to think, because these were hand carved in India during the pandemic, I like to think that maybe it was soothing for them or calming for them, or maybe they got some of the energy of it. They've been so hard hit by COVID, so maybe this was, I hope they were blessed in the process of making those too. It sure was perfect timing. Yeah, Sandy's had some surgeries, and so this was great timing for physical healing for her, for sure. It's a great question from Lauren. I'm glad you guys enjoyed tonight. Lauren asked if we always have to open and close the circle when we do this work like we did it tonight. We moved a lot of energy, so I'm going to say yes for something like this. It wasn't a ceremony, so I'm glad that you asked, because it may not have been an obvious or automatic question, but it's an important question. And even though this isn't a ceremony, when you're moving around big energy, it's just a good idea to do that in a tighter container, right? Because there's so much sending, receiving happening, and you're pulling in. I mean, it's every portal, right? It's every dimension. So that's just a big old universe you're plugging into, and it's good to do that in a safe way. So I absolutely will go over it, and I will tell you. So those of you who are just in Crystal Masters, I do want to tell you there's a couple of benefits that happen at the beginning of the year for Soul Shift. And I'm not saying this to talk you into upgrading, because if you're happy just being in Crystal Masters, I'm happy with you just being in Crystal Masters. But Soul Shift gets some introductory videos. I'm actually recording those in the next 2 weeks, and they will have access to those, I believe. I'll have to double check. It's either at the end of December or first part of January. You're going to get introductory videos from me and PDFs from me, how to set up an altar, how to call in the directions, why to call in the directions, all of the basics of practice. This is called Introduction to Magic. And so all those PDFs and those videos, there's going to be about 2 hours of videos and I think 6 or 12 different PDFs that you're getting with all these basics. That isn't even part of the class content. That's what you get before class starts, so that you don't feel uncomfortable, like you don't know something. And by the way, you can always ask a question. So it's not like you can't ask questions as we go. But some people like to go into a new year, and especially if it's a new program for you. Now, the old folks who are continuing, they're going to get new videos. I change them every year, just because I change every year. So I've already recorded a version of this twice now, I think, but I'm going to do a new version this year because I'm new. So anyway, that's one good thing that you get at the beginning of the year, in addition to a big tuition savings. Because if you sign up for Soul Shift for the whole year, for next year, you save $100. So you save one whole month of your, or a little bit over a month of your tuition. So anyway. Oh, I love that. Bonnie said she applied Metatron perfume earlier. Kat walked by and said something smells good. Please tell Kat I miss her. I miss you both. I really do. All right, you guys. So thank you for being here. A reminder to sign up for your tools if you would like this mala. This mala, unbelievably, is your tool for next month, and it's $20. So if you want a real gemstone mala for your collection, I actually think it's really cute. I think it's a pretty necklace, and you can totally wear it as a necklace when you're not using it. That way you'll always have it with you. So a reminder to sign up for your tools for next month if you'd like that. And then all of the wands I showed you tonight are on sagegoddess.com, and they're 22% off, but just for you guys and just until midnight tomorrow. So if you didn't have a wand tonight and you're like, I really want one, I still have the Goddess of Earth wands in black tourmaline. I have 2 different chakra wands in bloodstone and lapis. This is the bloodstone, this is the lapis. And then I have a sunstone wand for leadership, and I have a pink opal wand for heart opening and transformation in love. So, and those are all 22% off until midnight tomorrow, if you would like one. Ta-da! The mala is, I want to say it's either green jasper or green agate. Alexis, is it green jasper or green agate? I can't remember. They just came in, and we just finished the whole process of getting them. It doesn't really matter because jasper and agate grow together. So, but let's call it jaspagate. It's either jasper or agate. I think it's green jasper, but I want to not say that for sure until I know for sure. Isn't it pretty? I chose green, by the way. I had my choice of different stones in different colors. I chose green because we're crystal healers. And that's a little silk tassel for you. So, yeah, so if you, we can talk more about membership questions later. The code, by the way, is Crystal22. Don't tell anyone else. I really don't want anybody else using that code. So, they're jasper, green and white jasper. Yay! It is 108 beads, baby. What a weight. That's what you gotta have. It is not knotted. No, I wouldn't have been able to do it for $20 for you if it was knotted. That's the only downside. But it's really, really pretty. They actually did a really nice job. So that's your tool for next month, and we'll talk all about it then. All right, you guys, have a great rest of your evening. Thank you, Alexis, as always, for being there. I appreciate you. Alexis took notes tonight, and she will be posting those notes in your classroom. Yes, the whole mala is 6 mm. There you can kind of see the whole shebang. See more of the white stones at the back of your neck and more of the green stones at the front of your neck. I feel like a model. Alana has a question, so dive on in, girl, right before we go. Let me see if I can help you before we sign off for the night. You're very welcome. Thank you for being here, Emery. We really appreciate you. Yeah, I chose the green. We had a choice of there was a golden agate that we could have chosen, and I was like, I don't know that we're doing an empowerment piece. You know, I think it's more of a healing mala. That's my intention for it anyway. Okay, let me see if there's any other questions before I sign off. It was really great to be with you guys tonight. You are so very welcome. I appreciate you too. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Okay, well, if we didn't get to your question tonight, like I said, Alana had a question. I'm not sure what her question was. If we didn't get to your question tonight, please go to your Facebook group and tag us. Tag me and Alexis. We will come right away and answer. Oh, can you point out the 6 points on the actual tool, please? I only see 5. So this is an important point, and I'm glad you asked. This is a 3D representation of this. So this is this, but blown up, okay? That's why there's a different number of terminations on your 3D version as there are on the 2D. So I'm glad you asked that. You're so welcome. All right, you guys, we love you. I hope that answered your question, Alana. Thank you for asking it. It was a fantastic question. And yeah, we'll look forward to seeing you soon. I will be live with you on Saturday for New Moon at 6 p.m. So please plan to join me on YouTube. I would love to see you there.